and now to what we've all been waiting for. So it is my distinct honor and privilege to introduce Mr. Rajmohan Gandhi. He's an eminent figure whose life's work has been devoted to fostering global understanding, friendship, and equality. Mr. Gandhi is a renowned historian, a biographer, a journalist, and a former member of the Rajya Sabha, which is the upper house. It's similar to what we have here, which is the Senate. And he's dedicated his entire life to promoting ideals of trust, equality, and mutual respect among diverse people and nations. During the challenging period in India, I don't know, some of you may remember, the emergency, which was from 1975 to 1977, Mr. Gandhi demonstrated extraordinary courage. And as the founder and editor of a weekly publication called Himmat, where they opposed the suspension of democratic rights and earning recognition as one of the few dissenting voices during the tumultuous time. In 1990, he extended his advocacy to the global arena by leading India's delegation to the UN Human Rights Commission in Geneva. Today, he remains deeply committed to addressing the challenges of democracy faced by various parts of our world. Rajmohan Gandhi's commitment to dialogue and reconciliation is exemplified by his pivotal role in establishing the Asia Plateau Center in Panchani near Pune, India. This center is celebrated for its efforts in promoting understanding, peace, including significant contributions to ecological initiatives, reflecting his comprehensive approach to the global issues. An accomplished educator, Mr. Gandhi has shared his wealth of knowledge by teaching history and politics at universities both in India and the US, with a significant tenure at the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. His extensive list of authored books underscores his profound understanding of history and commitment to scholarship. Notable among them are 8 Lives, a study of Hindu-Muslim encounter, Revenge and Reconciliation, Understanding South Asian History, and Why Gandhi Still Matters, an appraisal of his legacy, along with his latest publication, which is India After 1947, Reflections and Recollections. Rajmohan's biographies, including those of Mahatma Gandhi, Vallabhbhai Patel, Chakravarti, Rajgopalachari, Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan, and Prince Darbar Gopal Das of Gujarat, have earned him acclaim for their depth and insight. We you're going to see him very soon. He's nearing, 89 years old. It's amazing. And we were initially talking about his coming, but for just a keynote talk for 20 minutes, we thought that was not, to make him travel all the way. So this was the next best. But you will have an opportunity to ask questions. So he'll be available by Saturday. So he continues to inspire us with his wisdom and dedication to the principles that have shaped his remarkable life. So now, ladies and gentlemen, and our distinguished guests, it is with great pleasure that we welcome our esteemed keynote speaker, Mr. Rajmohan Gandhi, to share his wealth of experience and knowledge with us today. Thank you.
Well, I'm very glad to be spending this time with interesting and influential women and men. And I thank Rupa Gir for giving me this opportunity. Looking at these words, gratitude with global cultures and communities, I think to myself about gratitude that it is the key to sanity. If we fail to appreciate or feel thankful for the little nice things that still happen daily in our brilliant but often stupid world, we would be even more disappointed than we are today. So thank you, Dr. Rupa Gir and friends, for starting with gratitude. I'm also glad that we're thinking of global cultures and communities. The word global calls for reflection. We know that even as our planet shrinks into a single boat, a single sinking boat perhaps I should say, we're becoming more and more tribal within that vote. It is obviously sensible to confront elected officials with community leaders and vice versa, for on their own, neither elected officials nor community leaders have gotten very far in our world. Now, I'm disappointed that I'm not physically confronting all of you, although you may be lucky not having to worry about likely risks if a rickety old man were to walk around in your midst. Now, looking around at the Middle East war that began on October 7, involving Israelis, Palestinians, Hamas, Gaza, looking at the war in Ukraine that will soon be 2 years old, looking at other older wars elsewhere that no longer earn headlines, looking at the gunning down of children in school, the gunning down of shoppers picking up their groceries, looking at suicides worldwide of youngsters, of farmers. Looking around like this, we observe a global eruption of a sense of helplessness. And the question rises in our minds, what can we do? In the year 1948, a long time ago for many here, the nations of the world agreed on this universal Declaration of Human Rights that many of you are familiar with, but I quote, "Whereas recognition of the inherent dignity and of equal and inalienable rights of all members of the human family is the foundation of freedom, justice, and peace in the world. Whereas disregard and contempt for human rights have resulted in barbarous acts which have outraged the conscience of mankind, and the advent of a world in which human beings shall enjoy freedom of speech and belief and freedom from fear and want has been proclaimed as the highest aspiration of the common people. Now, therefore, this General Assembly proclaims this Universal Declaration of Human Rights as a common standard of achievement for all peoples and all nations. All human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. They are endowed with reason and conscience and should act towards one another in a spirit of brotherhood." I don't need to read the rest. In the year 2017, a Dutch scholar called Siep Sturman published here in the United States a book called The Invention of Humanity. In that book, the scholar reminded us that our realization that humanity was interconnected was in fact is a relatively recent discovery. We can think of our mingled gathering today as flesh and blood proof of this discovery. In today's America, happily, such meetings are not exceptional. Instead of returning from such gatherings to our tribal tents, perhaps we can aim to give more life to such multi-ethnic, multi-faith, multiracial circles. No matter how small, circles where there is frankness, respect, love, trust, equality. Circles where our shared humanity puts our differences in their proper place, from where these differences bestow charm and beauty, so that our circle may become a miniature of tomorrow's wiser new world. If cultivating our shared humanity seems a pleasant and even appealing activity, let us recognize that the effort has to be joined by willingness at crucial moments to utter the unpleasant truth. Tribal tents will not merge into humanity's spectacular planet Earth without frank truth-telling, at times difficult or risky truth-telling, especially to one's own tent and at times to a neighboring tent. The tent I'm most familiar with is the Indian tent. I'm aware, moreover, that the whole world is now the Shamiana, the great tent, the vast home of the Indian people. Indians are relentlessly making the whole world their home, not because India is pushing them out, but because the world is pulling Indians in, because Indians find the world appealing, promising, comfortable. In fact, the world feels like home to many Indians, a larger and more comfortable version of home, with, moreover, great Indian food close by in most places. If Indians wish to go all across the world, much of the world wants the entry of hard-working, English-speaking, professionally skilled, tech-savvy, young in age Indians. There is great supply and there is great demand. This large-scale dynamic is bound to influence the world's politics, economics, and character. The Indian diaspora may be the largest diaspora in the world. Probably Mexicans and the Chinese come close. Currently, a majority of Indians outside India live in the US, which has the largest number, in Saudi Arabia, in the UAE, in other Gulf countries, in Canada, the UK, Australia, countries in Europe, and in African countries, where they have gone as professionals or for business. A recent official release from India's Ministry of External Affairs states that 32 million people of Indian origin live outside India. Of these, about 20 million are already nationals of other countries. These numbers may be underestimates. In almost every country in the world, Indians may be found in business, in professions, and elsewhere. According to the Ministry of External Affairs in India, just the year 2022 saw a record number of over 1.3 million Indian students heading abroad for their studies. All here with India connections know, even if some have forgotten, that Mahatma Gandhi, whose museum is where you are now, was an NRI, a non-resident Indian, during the years that transformed him. Between 1893, when he was 23, and 1914, when he was 44, Barrister Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi was an NRI in South Africa. There, in the great city of Johannesburg, on May 18, 1908, that is more than 115 years ago, Gandhi presented a vision of all the races of South Africa. In a speech he made at the YMCA in Johannesburg, which was published in the city's newspapers at the time, Gandhi said, and I quote, "In studying the Indian question, I have also endeavored to study the question as it affects the Africans and the Chinese. We can hardly think of South Africa without the African races. If we look into the future," continued Gandhi, "is it not a heritage we have to leave to posterity, that all the different races commingle and produce a civilization that perhaps the world has not yet seen," unquote. In the year 1908, did any other Indian, whether in South Africa or in India, present a picture even remotely similar to what I've just quoted? In 1908, even non-Indians did not speak of the commingling of races. A number of Asian leaders gathered in Delhi in April 1947. This was 4 months before India's independence, 9 months before Gandhi was killed. He was killed, as many know, by some who thought that Gandhi was friendlier than necessary to India's Muslims. At this conference in April 1947, someone from Egypt recited a verse about Gandhi, translated from its Arabic original. This poem began with the spindle with which every day Gandhi made thread out of cotton. The poem said that the spindle in Gandhi's hand became sharper than the sword. It added, the simple white sheet wrapping Gandhi's thin body was an armor plate which imperial guns could not pierce. And the poem concluded by saying, Gandhi's goat became stronger than the British lion. Now, led by Gandhi, India's non-violent fight for freedom astonished the world. Do not kill, Gandhi insisted, and he added another key instruction, do not hate. That call was almost impossible to implement. Could an Indian fight the British without hating them? Yet Gandhi warned that if hating the British became normal, Indians would not stop there. They would quickly hate fellow Indians. Killing fellow Indians would be the next step. Sadly, in the summer and autumn of 1947, angry individuals in the large Punjab province of undivided India and elsewhere on the subcontinent took that fateful next step. Gandhi was very human. He reacted with rage when India's British rulers were arrogant or harsh. An unjust law or an unfair action often enraged him. When the rage was alive, Gandhi expressed it frankly to a viceroy or to a governor. But Gandhi did not allow his rage to turn into hatred against any individual. His rage turned instead into electricity, electric energy for those struggling for freedom and justice. When Asia's leaders gathered in Delhi in April 1947, here is what Gandhi told them, quote, "All the Asian representatives have come together here. Is it in order to wage a war against Europe, against America, against non-Asians? I say most emphatically, no." Referring to Zoroaster, to the Buddha, to Moses, to Jesus, and to Muhammad, Gandhi called these individuals, quote, "Asia's wise men," unquote, adding, quote, "I do not know of a single person in the world to match these men of Asia." Gandhi went on to say, "I am an inheritor of the message of love that these great unconquerable teachers left for us. I want you to go away with the thought that Asia has to conquer the West through love and truth. In this age of democracy," added Gandhi, "in this age of awakening of the poorest of the poor, you can redeliver this message with the greatest emphasis." Concluded Gandhi, quote, "You will complete the conquest of the West not through vengeance, because you've been exploited, but with real understanding."
Thank you so much for your comments, especially at the end. I think it's really empowering and it really communicates the power of hope. So I just wanted to say thank you more than ask a question, but your knowledge was really great today.
Could be heard.
Why is it not so difficult that what we just heard today is not taught in schools in systematic, fundamental ways?
Well, I think that's a question for all of us to ask in our respective communities. That these simple truths of getting to know one another, appreciating one another, being grateful for one another, being honest about what you think. Why are these truths not taught? I don't know whether there is a single response to that question. I suppose it varies from community to community. But these are indeed questions to ask. And perhaps questions to ask not in an angry way, but in a genuine way. To explore in honest conversations, in frank conversations, why more of this is not being done. But I imagine many of you will have better answers to this important question than I have.
Good morning, Your Honor, Rajmohan Gandhi, sir. My name is Rajmohan Motan. I'm the president of Burma American Chamber of Commerce. My great-grandfather and Mahatma Gandhi, we are from Kathiawar, if you know, from Gujarat. And yes, sir. My great-grandfather was a textile factory owner in Burma and in Bombay also. And my great-grandfather was with the Mahatma Gandhi movement. He participated with the first Prime Minister, our Nehruji. When he came to Burma, my great-grandfather was the host he invited. I want to ask you one single question, sir. You and the past all independent time, we were all live in India very peacefully, Christian, Muslim, Hindu, non-believer, everybody. Why has changed now so much, and how we can improve, sir? I need your on that purpose, sir. Thank you so very much.
I'm very happy to hear from you and about your family's connections, but I didn't hear your name, sir.
Rahman Motan.
Rahman Motan. How do you spell the last word?
M-O-T-O-N. M-O-T-O-N.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your question, and it's a very real question and a question that should be asked. Why is it that good relations between different communities are no longer seen as strongly, as compellingly in today's India. And this is a question that is true for many parts of the world. And so this is a question for government leaders, for community leaders, for teachers, for parents, for citizens. Ultimately, each one of us has to decide whether we have some responsibility to improve things or not. So I'm very, very glad indeed that you have raised this absolutely relevant question. And any sincere person in India or so many other countries has to ask, why are the values of mutual respect, mutual equality, complete freedom of belief and expression, why are these values not being strongly defended in our countries? This must be asked in India, it must be asked in other countries too. And those who are concerned should get together with like-minded persons to see what can be done. And sometimes, even if big changes are slow to take place, we should be interested in smaller changes, in changes in small circles even. You know, here in the United States, there are people from many countries which face similar problems. And people who can't meet one another within those countries can meet one another in the United States. But we don't take the opportunity, even when these opportunities are available in the United States, to build bridges, to build bonds, to create the kind of partnership that sadly is not available in our parts of the world anymore. But here is our chance to create those partnerships and send a very strong message back home. But I thank you once again for asking this good question, appropriate question.
One more question.
The Honorable Gandhi, it's such a privilege and such an honor to meet with you and hear your message to the world. We actually happen to have your book on our desk, Indian After 1947. It's such a great, I really want to thank Rupaji and IPAC to invite you to talk to us directly. My question is, and probably saying what a lot of people in the audience is, what is your message about Gaza today? Because we're all so traumatized by that. I have seen our community so deeply divided. We actually have Jewish friends here, Muslim friends here, Indian friends, Chinese friends, all the people probably will have this question for you. What is your message for Gaza?
My first response when I think about Gaza is to try to hide my head as a member of humanity.
Yes, absolutely.
That here in the 21st century, that we human beings are capable of this kind of mutual madness. So I feel as a member of the human race, I feel embarrassed, I feel ashamed. I also, of course, feel deeply shaken that in this day and age, neighbors can be so cruel to one another. I feel absolutely shaken that we will not recognize some people as equal human beings who deserve every kind of protection, whose children, whose parents, whose families deserve protection, let alone life and security. One of the things I feel sad about today, about Gaza today, is the lack of leadership, global leadership, not just in the area, not just between Palestinians and Israelis. But where is leadership in the world Why aren't people of influence saying, let's meet together and see how this can be brought to an end? This madness can be brought to an end. That neighborliness can be established. That Palestinians and Israelis can live as neighbors, as friends. Yes, there may be very powerful reasons against this, but surely this world with all its abilities, all its incredible human beings, all its resources, its ingenuity, there's some solution has to be found. Why aren't more people in our communities saying that this madness must not be allowed to continue? Without saying that X is more to blame or Y is more to blame, without saying who was right, who was wrong, let us try to figure out what is right as the next step. How can we have some kind of peace, end to bloodshed, and resumption of some conversation so that some kind of sanity, reconciliation is maybe distant, but some kind of minimal sanity may begin. So I would say that in our circles, small circles, if this agitation for sanity can start being expressed all over the United States, all over the world, it will have an impact. Or we may identify individuals, we may identify some senator, some congressman in the US, and say to her or him, please, on our behalf, on people of humanity, do something. But I thank you for raising this question. And I know you realize that this 88-year-old man is not the only one who should supply the answer. All of us must be searching with tremendous keenness for some next step.
Thank you all. Thank you first, Mr. Gandhi, for this extraordinary talk, this very inspiring message that you had. I think you all agree. A big round of applause. Notation for you, if you cannot see everybody, Thank you. Now, I think I'm going to hand over to Samyaj for the next speaker.